Good day everyone and welcome to the webinar on Candy's Planning Progress Update and Progress Analysis, where I will show you the various ways of updating your program as well as do a few analysis in case of a delay. My name is Marjorie Subramani. I am a technical consultant here at the CCS office in Centurion. It is a city in the Gauteng province of South Africa. It is my pleasure to present this webinar to you. Due to the large number of people logged into the session, we will not be able to answer any questions. However, please still submit your questions during the webinar with the provided function on screen. At the end of the webinar, I will then collate these questions and send the answers to everyone who have registered for the webinar via email. Just note that this webinar will be recorded and you will receive a link to download it. And then just as a reminder, there is a webinar once a month where we cover various Candy topics. Should you not be able to attend the webinar at the given time frame, then please just go ahead and register for it, as this will entitle you to receive a recorded copy. Okay, so let's get started. So on the agenda today, we're going to look at the Planning Progress Update overview. I'm going to recap on what a base program is. We're going to run through the program checklist. I will show you how to set the time now in Candy and also explain what that means. Then we will look at the various ways of recording progress. I will run a few progress reports, followed by setting up your second progress update with the reports. And then I will end this webinar by covering the progress analysis and also looking at reports. Okay, so first on the agenda we have the Planning Progress Update overview. Okay, so why is it important to record progress on a regular basis? So once a program has been accepted as contractual, recording progress of activities provides an as-built record. It is for this reason that it is important to put certain measures in place. And this is to ensure that regular monitoring of the work is done. And this can be achieved by recording progress against the plan on a regular, consistent basis, to highlight areas which deviate from the original plan, but also to act quick enough to ensure that action is indeed taken in time to correct adverse trends. Alright, so now that I've covered the overview, let's just recap on what is a base program. So before we start to record our program, it is important to record the baseline. But what is a base program? So it is simply the original program before any progress is added. It forms as a contractual record of the agreed program. And also once you have once you have entered progress against the base, then it forms as an as-built record of the progress of the entire project. And of course, once you have baselined the program, you are then able to set your time now to record the actual progress. Okay, so I will go live into the system where we will base our program before recording our progress. But it's very important to run through a program checklist. So the program checklist is covered in detail in the C202 Planning and Programming course. So I'll just note what the checks are, but I will not be doing it. Okay, so the program, before the tender program becomes the contractual base program, it must be analyzed, adjusted, and checked, after which all progress and actual days will be then compared against. So the following checklist can be used to determine what needs to be checked or implemented. As I've mentioned, this is covered in detail in the C202 planning course. Okay, so first up we have the calendars. It is important before you start any programming to set your calendars. This is your non-working days, your holidays, and your shutdown period. Also, if you have more than one calendar, it is important to have it defined, but to also allocate it to the relevant activity. You can have up to 9 calendars. Then we have our heading structure. A program, it should not just make sense, it should also look good, and this is where the work breakdown structure come in. If you have proper headings, you know exactly what is where. And this is to analyze, obviously, the level of detail. So it is important to check and adjust the section level, structure, and hierarchy. Your activities. So when it comes to activities, it is important to check that you do not have any open ends or open starts or any loops in the logic, because this will indeed affect your critical path analysis. So once your program is fully linked, you are then able to isolate your critical path. Then you have activity coding. So when it comes to coding in Candy, it's literally just defining codes, such as your subcontractor codes, area codes, or whatever the case may be, and then allocating it to activities. And this will then allow you, when you print reports, to filter out these codes and print a report for a certain area or for a certain subcontractor. Then we have format text. This is simply aesthetics, you know, capital letters versus your lowercase. At the end of the day, you want a professional document. So we have the options. Instead of going and manually changing it from caps to lowercase, you have the right click option to select how you would like to structure the format, or rather format the text. Okay, then we have our resources. So we have planning resources, and if you are going to make use of your planning resources, it's important to define it, and then once it has been defined, to allocate it to your various activities. And then lastly on the checklist is the procurement section. So these are your long lead schedules as well as your information schedules, where it is covered, or not covered, but it's ran separate from the main program. But what's nice about these documents is that it links to your program, so you can see what is the effect of a delay, should there be a delay in, let's say, the drawings, or a delay in a long lead item. Okay, then you can be proactive in managing that activity. Alright, so that is my program checklist. So as I've mentioned, I have made sure that I went through the entire checklist, so I have covered all of these. So far we've covered the Planning Progress Update overview. We've recapped on the base program. We have looked at the program checklist. And before we go live into the software, I would like us to look at setting time now in Candy. So what is time now? So time now is the date to which progress is recorded. That means progress of an activity is recorded as having an actual start date prior to your time now, with the remaining duration beyond the time now date. So what does that mean? So if you look at the little example in front of us, we have the start of our activity. This is my base program, and I have 3 activities running. Okay, if I have my time now line in place, that means that from the start of that activity up to my time now line, I am able to record progress. So what this means is that activity 1 should have been completed and activity 2 should have started. Alright, with the remaining duration happening after the time now line. But let's have a look at what happens if you have not done the work as planned. As an example, out of the 5 days, we have only done 3 days worth of work. So that means that you can record your progress for the 3 days, But what that would mean for the remaining 2 days and the rest of your activities is that the earliest it can start is after your time now line. Alright, so again, as a reminder, the blue indicates my base program, and then the red in this case will then be my current program, which means it is the earliest I can start after setting or recording my progress. Alright, so we're going to go live into the software now, where we will base the program as well as set the time now. Okay, so in Candy, I've selected the Digital Twin Office Park. Currently, no program has been selected. So in order for me to select a program, I would need to go to the Program Manager, which is the very first icon. I have the Digital Twin Office Park program. I have created a heading and I called it the Tender Program. So I just want to show you guys what it looks like. So now it tells me that I've selected Digital Twin Office Park. The third icon is my activity list bar chart. That means it is linked to document 1.1 standard bar chart. So this is my program. When I close it to a highest level, it is the Digital Twin Office Park. My total duration is 122 working days, and it's been divided in block A and block B. So this is where the heading structure comes in. And as you can see, block A consists of the substructure, superstructure, and roofing. It's also nice here, I have my timeline in indicating my completion date. Right, I've also created tender reports. So this is just the standard bar chart. If you look on the right hand side of this little screen, it just gives you like a high level summary of what has been done to this report. So we haven't done anything major. So selection is the entire report, your calendar is on weekly, and so forth. But I'll show you guys how to customize these. So if you preview this report, it looks professional. I have my description, duration, and the current start date. And you can see all the links between all my activities. And there you can see the end date, which is the 7th of July. You can obviously customize this and add as many columns in there as you wish. Then we have the summary. I'm just going to close this again. As you can see here, my selection is it has been summarized to a level 4. So this is my level 4 summary. So this just gives you an idea of when exactly work needs to happen. It's very high level, and you can then obviously plan the project or the resources accordingly. Okay, so now we need to set our base program. Before I do that, I'm going to close this program, go to my program manager, duplicate my tender program, and call this my Digital Twin Office Park contractual. Because this is my contractual program, I've done all the checks, and since everything is 100%, I will then baseline my contractual program. To base the program, you can use this little icon where it says progress and time now, or if you go to update, you have the option to record time now. So I'm going to go to my red book, which is the document manager. And what I have done here is I have made a copy of document 1.1, which is my standard bar chart. I've renamed it to 1.1a, standard bar chart, base, and current. So if I click on customize, just to show you what I've done here, I have added the base start and end dates as well as my current start and end dates. I have also added the total float column. Okay, so these are all your available columns on the left hand side, so you can obviously customize it to suit your project requirements. If you go to new documents, this is like a little storeroom where if for whatever reason you have messed up document 1.1, instead of removing columns again to try and get it to the standard bar chart or the default document, you can delete it altogether, go to new document, and bring out a new 1.1 standard document. Okay, so I'm going to select document 1.1a. So as you can see, I do not have any start and finish base dates. If I close this to a higher level, I start on the 16th of January and I finish on the 7th of July, which is correct. So the next step for me is to set my time now, or to set the base program. So how Candy works is that the minute you set the time now, if the system picks up that you do not have a base program, it will ask you if you want to record the base first. So I'll show you guys, but then I will just remove it again. Basically showing you how to undo in Candy. So this is my time now section, and then as you do your time nows multiple times, the history will be recorded in this little block over here. This is to roll back, which I will show you in a bit, and this is to then baseline your program. So you have the option. You can either set your time now date by clicking on the 4 dots or typing it in and then clicking OK, and then obviously automatically baselining it, or waiting for the system to prompt you to baseline it, or you could have just ignored this. It was on the 13th of January and click on base program. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my time now date, click on OK. Alright, so because this is linked to the bill of quantities, it tells me that my time now date is January 2020 and the valuation date is 1980. That's the year. Well, no valuation has been set. So you can just clear the link, or if you want to keep the link, just make sure that your valuation date and your time now date is always matching. Okay, so I want to proceed. I'm just going to ignore that. I will show you how to clear the link between the bill and the program. Alright, so this is what I was talking about. So it's telling us that this is our first update for the program, but before your time now can be set, you need to have a base program. So the base is used to measure the current program against the approved program. Is the program ready to be recorded as the base? So I'm confident that it is ready, so all I'm going to do is say yes. When I click anywhere to make my document active, my base dates are now recorded. Alright, so we have not only set our base dates, but we've also selected our time now date. So what this means is that I can record progress from the start of this activity, in this case the start of this contract, up to my time now line. Right. Also take note of the calculate button. The minute you make changes on a program, it will change to pink, meaning that you need to calculate to see the effect. But what I want to bring to your attention is that whenever you are busy with progress updates, it is important to not calculate until after you have recorded your progress. Because what will happen is the system will assume that you have not done any work, and it will shift everything that should have happened in that period, the time now period, to beyond the time now line. To just show you what I mean, once I hit calculate, and you see, so for this period from the start of the project to my time now line, the system assumed that I have not done any work. That means the earliest these activities can take place again is after my time now line. Okay. So in Candy, we do not have an undo button, but let's say for instance you would like to still record your progress. Then all you need to do is click on progress, choose the option to show your base bars, and then the system will tell you where the bars were laying or where the base bars are. So then you can still come and then update this accordingly. Alternatively, you can just roll back to the previous period, which is obviously before our time now, to put the bars in the original position. So this is what we mean when we say, although you can't redo, although you can't undo, you can redo things in Candy. So to do that, I will click on this icon, my progress and time now icon. And I do not have progress, which means I will be able to roll back. If I had had progress on here, I would have had to undo my progress and then roll back. Okay, so I will click on roll back. Move time now back to the previous period, yes. So now when I make my document active, hit calculate, my bars are in its original position. Okay, so now we have our base dates and we are ready to record progress. So what I'm going to do in case I forget, I will just create a new heading and call it Progress Updates. And then I will take my contractual program, duplicate it, and rename it to Update 1. Okay, so I'm going to switch back to my PowerPoint to look at the various ways of recording progress. Okay, so in Candy there are various methods to record progress. We have about 4 methods. You can obviously choose what works for you. So the first option is to record your progress by making use of your mouse. So if you look at the example on screen, where you have your time now line, you can draw it back if you are in line with an activity. And what's important here is the yellow tag, because it tells you information with regards to what you want to do. So in this case, I am setting my progress for activity A020. My days completed is at 80% and the remaining days are 2. That's because I'm going over my bar. If I had stopped at the end of the bar, it would have told me that it is 100% complete. But I will show you guys this live when we go into Candy in a bit. Okay, the second option is to make use of the bar chart screen buttons. So this is found on the bottom right hand side of the screen, where you are able to set the actual start, actual end, as well as the remaining duration. So what's important to note here is that depending on where your cursor is, so once you put your cursor at a certain point, if you look at the bottom left hand side of the screen, it will tell you what is the PC day. So in this case it's day number 64. Okay, I can't use this example because the minute you move, then this date gets updated. But if you want to know what is the actual date, you will leave your pointer there, read the information on the bottom left hand side to see what date it is, and then come and set your actual start, set the actual end, or set the remaining duration. Again, I will cover this in a moment. Then the third option is to make use of the right click menu. Alright, so once you sit on a bar, you right click, you have the opportunity to set the activity as complete. So what that does is where the bar is positioned, it will mark it as complete. So it will basically use the base start and end date, or if it has already been in progress, the current start and end date, and it will mark it as complete. You can set the actual start, set the actual end. Again, it all depends on where you position your cursor. So it's important to always look at the bottom left hand side to see what the date exactly is. You can set the remaining duration, and what's nice about this option is that you have the opportunity to clear your progress. So if you had made a mistake, you can undo the progress, but you need to keep in mind that the system will assume that you haven't done this at all and it would move it beyond the time now line. Alright, that's where the base bars would come in handy. Then you can obviously just set your progress again. And then lastly, we also have the columns, which is my actual start and finish columns. You can simply type in the date, or by double clicking you can select the actual start and finish date. Okay, so let's go live into the software where we can set our progress. So this is my digital twin office park. I'm going to set my time now. because remember we set it, but then I had to roll back because I had hit calculate before updating. So I can click on the 4 dots. I want to record progress up to the 31st of January. So I will just click on OK. Yes. Okay, this is very important. It tells me that this is the first update for the program. A base already exists. Do you want to continue? Yes, I do. Then there's another note here. It's telling me a base has been set for this program. However, the current program does not match the base program. Guys, it's very important to read these notes and not just click yes or no, because now it's telling you that do you want to make your current program the base program. So let's say for whatever reason, I know it didn't happen in my case, but for whatever reason your current program did change. Alright, so now the start and finish dates are not the same as the base dates. The minute you say yes, it will then overwrite your existing base with what your current dates are. So that's why I'm saying it's important to take note of these little notes and then obviously make a decision based on what you know. So I know that I didn't make any changes, so I'll just say no. And what I want to show you guys before we continue, because otherwise that message is going to pop up every time. I should have actually done it before the webinar, but things happen. So I'm just going to switch over to link and forecast. I'm going to open up my link document and I will just clear the allocations. Okay, so now my program is not linked to my bill anymore, and hopefully when I then do updates, it won't remind me that my valuation date and my progress date is not the same. Anyway, link and forecast will be covered in next month's webinar while I'm there. Okay, so the first option that we're going to look at when recording progress is obviously using our mouse. But what I didn't mention is that when it comes to Candy and the document managers, you'll see that in estimating, valuation, whichever tab you're working in, we have standard documents to do certain things. So for progress updates, we have a document called Progress Bar Chart, which is document 5.1. So I can just come here and select it, but what I want to show you guys is how to swap between documents. So yes, I've selected document 1.1, but I want to go to document 5.1. So all I need to do is go to View, Swap Documents, go to number 5, and select document 5.1. Okay. So can you see my time now is still there? I have just added additional columns. So I have my actual start and finish date as well as the remaining duration. So this is the standard document, but I would like to add my base dates as well as the float columns in there. So to do that, I'm going to go to View, Add and Remove Columns. I also want to add the activity duration. So I'll sit on 2.3. and then add in 2.4 by double clicking, and I'm going to sit in the vertical line, go to number 16, double click to open and select 16.1, 16.2 for my base, start and finish. And then lastly I want to add my total float column. Okay, so this is how I would like to have my progress bar chart. You can obviously leave it as is or choose whichever other columns you would like in there. Okay, so the first option we're going to look at is our mouse function. So there is my time now line. So when you use the mouse option, what's important here is the white double-sided arrow. Once you have that, you will hold your left click in and then drag it. So the minute you start dragging beyond your time now line, the yellow tag will pop up giving you information with regards to this activity. So it's telling me I'm setting progress for A040 and my days complete is 100%. Days remaining is 0. So the minute I go beyond my bar, that's where the remaining days then come in, and then the days completed will be calculated accordingly. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at 100%. Okay, Okay, the second option, of course, is to make use of the screen buttons, which is set actual start, end, and remaining durations. So the minute I click here, if you look at the bottom right hand side, I can't move my mouse because then the date will change. So where my cursor is, it's telling me that I'm on PC day 7 and the date is the 21st of January. So I can set my actual start. In this case, I have one day going beyond the time now line, so I don't have to set my actual end. Okay, but if I wanted to set my actual end, then all I need to do is again sit on the 31st of January according to my bottom left hand side, the information there, and then click on set actual end. If you are not done with this activity and you would obviously like to show the remaining duration, then all you need to do is right click on this, clear the progress. But remember what I said, the minute you're going to clear the progress, it's going to move beyond the time now line. It moves beyond the time now line. Go to progress, show the base bars, and then go ahead and redo. Okay, and now it's as per the base dates. So the third option is to make use of the right click function. So we already actually used it, making use of clear progress, but you have the option to set the activity complete, set the actual end. So depending on where you are, let me just show you that. If I put my cursor on the let me just hover over it, 31st of January, once I right click and I select the option to set the actual end, it will use the 31st of January as my end date, minus the 5-day duration, and that will be my start date. Okay, and if you obviously want to fix it, you can click anywhere again, right click, set the actual start, and so forth. Or, which is the fourth option, is to, in the actual start column, you can double click and select the correct date. Double click and select the correct date. As I've mentioned also, you can just type it. So 31st of January, hit enter, and there you have it. Okay. So you can obviously use what works for you, but that is basically how you would record your progress. So once I'm done recording the progress, I can now go ahead and hit calculate so that the bars can go into the relevant position. Okay, so next up we have our progress reports. Let me just close this. Okay, so what I've done here is I have customized my reports already. So I've given it heading names, and then I've customized it to suit my need. But if you go to new report, there's a list of standard reports available for your use that you can obviously just customize according to the project specifications or whatever the case may be. Okay, so I'm going to close the tender program one, and the one we're going to look at is my base and current progress report. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. I have my base date, I have my current date, which is why I called it base and current. You have your activity description, what is the duration of the project, and what is the total float. So what you can see here, there's your time now line. It gives you time now 31st of January 2020, as well as your project end date. Okay, so this can serve obviously as your contractual updates that you can then submit to the client on a monthly basis or weekly basis, whatever the case may be. And then they're obviously going to come back and say, no, I need additional information at this column in, and so forth. And you can obviously see the logic between all the activities clearly. I have also chosen the option to show the base bars, which is why above your red, which are your float colors, red which is critical, green is activities with float, but above all of those bars you have the blue bars indicating that those are your base bars. Then we have the base and current with snapshot. So what I would like to show you guys here is this looks at your progress snapshot, but you would have to switch it on. And what's nice about this is once you go to progress, you select base program with snapshot, base, and then you select all your time nows. Should you be ahead or behind program, there will be a jagged line. So it will either go from the time now line, go backwards if you're behind, or go forwards on the bar if you are ahead. So if I preview this program, so this is my snapshot line. We are not ahead or behind on any of our activities. So what I will do with the second update is I will mark a few activities as behind, just so that we can have a clear view of how this report works. Okay, but it comes in very handy to identify your problem activities. Then we have the 2-week look ahead. Again, if you look on the right hand side, just to give you a high level idea of what has been done. On the selection, the rolling horizon, we said from time now 5 days before. So from my time now line, I want to look at what happened 5 days prior, and then from my time now line, what activities needs to happen over the next 2 weeks, which is plus 10 days. So this is my 2-week look ahead program. So you have your base finish, your remaining duration, your current finish with the float, then you have your previous float. So because we have not done this is our first update, this will obviously be the same as current, and then if there was a float difference, it will obviously be the current float less your previous float. Okay, so these are my activities that will happen over the next 2 weeks. So you can then also prioritize these activities and make sure that the guys are on site so that there are no delays whatsoever. And then lastly, we looked at it under tender reports. We have the summary bar chart, but I have selected the option to also show us how much of this activity has been completed. That's why in this case the activity A030 is colored. That means I have done, let's say, 90% of the work already. Okay, so that just gives you an idea of where you are for the excavation heading, basically. All right, so that's it for our progress reports. We can now move on to setting up our second progress update, followed by reports, basically the same reports we looked at. The one we're going to zoom in is the snapshot report. Okay, so now that we have already recorded the first program, what you need to do is now from the time now line, you need to select the date up to which period you want to now record progress again, and then you are able to record progress from the time now line up to your next period. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my program manager, duplicate update 1 and just rename it to update 2. And I will select document 5.1. Okay, so first things first, I need to set the time now. So I will click on the icon, time now icon, select the date up to which I would like to record my progress. So I'm doing monthly progress updates. You can of course do weekly progress updates, bi-weekly. It all depends on what the requirements on site are. So once I click anywhere on my document to make it active, it will tell me this is my time now line. The first one I recorded was the 31st of January, and this is the end of my second time now line, which means from the 1st of Feb until the end of February, I am able to record my progress. Okay, so now this is where you can obviously use whatever works for you. You can use the mouse option, you can use the actual start and finish columns. Just make sure that when you do use your actual start and finish columns that you are always in the right month. Otherwise you'll have to redo and redo until you get the correct one. Okay. Remember I said that some of these things I am going to make it late on purpose, just so that we can zoom into the snapshot report. And there we have it. Okay. Okay, so now I've recorded my progress. We can see that because I haven't done enough work here, we are overrunning the project. Well, this activity is overrunning the project by 2 days, but if you go all the way down, yes, so overall, I'm overrunning my project by 2 days. Okay. So let's just go to the report manager, and I would like to look at the base and current program just to see what is my current end date. So my base end date was the 7th of July, and currently I'm finishing on the 9th of July, and I see that my float is negative 4 days. Okay, so it is just because of not doing enough work on that one specific activity, which was already critical. Okay, so now if we look at the base and current snapshot, if I zoom in a bit, so my brick wall for the ground floor, I was supposed to have done work, or 3 days worth of work during that period, but I've only done one. So as I've explained earlier, from the time now line, it will go backwards if you are behind progress. Okay, so this is how you would then identify problem activities. Your brick wall in foundation, and still has float. Yes, we haven't done the work we should have done, but it's not a critical activity. Okay. So what I would also like to do is, if I go to new report, go to number 5, and let's have a look at the key date report. I'm just going to customize it. Start this on time now. Alright, so this tells me what is my current finish date. So it should have been on the 7th of July, and now it is on the 9th of July. So this brings us to the last point, which is the progress analysis and reports. So what do we mean when we say the progress analysis? So yes, we've identified that we are running late, or we're overrunning our project by 2 days. So what work can you do? What can you do currently to try and save or make up for those 2 days? We're early in the project. This has only been our second progress update. So it's better to attend to the problem now than to ignore it and then, add to that negative 2 days, because that's what's going to happen ultimately. Okay, so the first option is to look at the remaining activities and see which of these activities can run parallel to each other. Basically a start-to-start relationship. So that's one way of looking at it. The second way is looking at the duration. Maybe increase the manpower. But by increasing the manpower, yes, you will reduce your duration, but there will be cost implications by doing that. And then the last option is to maybe introduce a weekend calendar or weekend work calendar. So that means you introduce a second calendar, because currently this is a PC calendar. Introduces a second calendar which allows for weekend work, and then allocate that calendar to one activities or various activities to try and make up for that time. Okay, so what I would like to show you guys is, or basically that's what we're going to do. We're going to introduce another calendar that allows for weekend work, and then we're going to allocate that weekend work to activities. So I'm going to change my calendar display to the 7D, which is my universal calendar. It includes obviously my weekends and my non-working days. So we can see that this activity runs over 1, 2, 3 weekends and so forth. My curing activity, this works right through. So weekends, non-working days and so forth, because we have allocated the 7W, which is the universal calendar, to it. So if I add my column 9.1, which is the calendar code column, you can see that the 7D calendar has been allocated. Alternatively, you have the option to change the type. In this case, it's an H type, and it means the activities work through non-working days. Okay. So if I go back to the report manager, and we have a look at the cause of delay report. So here we have selected the entire program, but we have chosen a float range of -99 to 0 days. So these are activities that's overrunning the end date, as well as my critical activities. So these are the cause, or this is the cause of delay, which is my brick wall groundwork, and I have -2 days. And then you can obviously see what the effect of that delay is. If you want to zoom into the cause of delay report, you can make use of the problem activities 2-week look ahead, and it's found under management reports. It is report number 5.6. So what this does is it looks at the next 2 weeks, what activities happen that have negative float. So if I preview that, I can see it's only this one activity, which is the brick wall for my ground floor. That means that I can prioritize and try and work on that activities to try and solve the problem for later. Okay, so I'm going to open up my calendar. This is my PC calendar, which is days per week that I work is 5 days, and then I have introduced the 6-day calendar, which is my 6 working day calendar. If you want to add an additional calendar that allows for only weekend work, you can go to Tools, Add Calendar, give it a code, select how you would like to work, give it a name. Okay. So now that I already have a 6D calendar, meaning that it allows for work on Saturdays, I do not have to add an additional calendar. So all I need to do is allocate this calendar to the activity that I would like to work on Saturdays. So in this case, it will be activity A150. So all I need to do is double click in the Cal column, which is Cal for calendar, and select 6D for 6 working day. As you can see, it brought the activity back. So once I hit calculate, it changed from purple to red, meaning that it is no more overrunning the end date, and it is a critical activity. So if I go back to my reports and I go to my key date report, I can see that I am finished. I'm finishing this or completing this project on the specified period, which is the 7th of July, as per my imposed date. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this webinar. And just to refresh your memory of what we have done, we had a look at the Planning Progress Update overview. We recapped on the base program. We had a look at the program checklist. We looked at ways of setting the time now and what it means in Candy. And then I showed you guys the various ways of recording progress, followed by looking at progress reports. And then we did a second progress update and we looked at 1 or 2 reports. And I ended this webinar with the progress analysis and reports. Thank you for your time, and I trust that you now have a greater insight into Candy's update, into Candy's progress update and progress analysis. Please remember to email your local CCS office if you want to know more about what we have covered in today's webinar. Also, if you are interested in the reports I have viewed today, you can just give your local CCS office a call and then we can share those reports with you. We will keep you informed of the next webinar, and remember, if you are unable to join on the selected time, please still register as you will receive the recorded copy, which you can then watch in at your own time. Enjoy the rest of the day. Till the next webinar, goodbye for now.